and the consumption pattern of consumers, which has started undergoing a change where consumers want to live the life today, the gratification today. I have not created anything large, impactful, and that is a inherent need
Ida.
which I feel.
Jitendra, very excited to be talking to you. I don't know if the word veteran is the right word for you, but
I've got gray hair for sure, so veteran, you can say veteran.
no, but I'm telling everyone why veteran, because I think you know the banking system in India. You're a product of the banking system, and now and then ran fintech companies to got a very solid exit with Citrus Pay, ran Citrus Pay, then PayU, and now you are back with a starter and a neobank at that with Jupiter. So, before I begin, I want to ask you that in one of your interviews I was reading, you had said that India's in fact, you had said, welcome to India. China's journey in the fintech space has been very path dependent. And a lot of local factors have contributed. I want to understand, how do you see India's fintech play panning out as it matures?
Sure, Shraddha. So I think first of all, I'm pretty intrigued that you remember my past interviews. So I myself don't remember I said this. That being said, let's just answer what you are asking. So I think if you look at China and how the banking system worked there 20 years back, and how whole Alibaba and WeChat sort of played role in bringing financial services to the Chinese consumers. So if you look at, there was no evolved banking system in China in 20 years back, and this is where Alibaba started with this wallet payments, the escrow payments to establish the trust among between the consumers for making the payments. Uh, they sort of created this whole fraud control and all of those kind of environment, which you see generally a regulated does, the consumer protection aspect. And similarly, if you look at WeChat as an ecosystem, so WeChat started WePay in 2012, and now it has become a de facto payment mode among the consumers and merchants, consumers to consumers. And I think the beauty of that is that the WeChat already created a base of close to half a billion to 800 million consumers, and then they started payments. So it was very natural for consumers to sort of gravitate towards that. Uh, and this is how and banks there could not catch up. While India, if you look at it, is way different, and I would sort of give credit to regulator and banks. And
Hmm.
let me elaborate what I mean by that. I think regulator did a great job in sort of establishing real-time payment systems. They established RTGS, NEFTs, IMPS, and that happened like way back in 2012, 13, 14, 15. So it is not like new phenomena. If you look at the world over, I think the world is still catching up with those what India did in 8 9 years back. And now 2016 onwards, this whole UPI phenomena which came in, I think unprecedented. Frankly, being part of the ecosystem, I never anticipated that UPI adoption will be so fast. I thought that it will take 8 10 years to change consumer behavior, but hats off to NPCI, hats off to RBI and the ecosystem players like PhonePe, GPay, and all. They did a phenomenal job in educating the consumer, phenomenal job in penetrating the usage of the payments rails through UPI. And I think that has changed the game for India altogether. Similarly, if you look at open banking, where RBI has been very supportive for banks to sort of open up their APIs and expose it to third parties and simplify the business's life and all of that. I think none of that has happened in China. Now, the only thing which has happened different in China, and it is often being debated whether it will happen in India as well, is this whole super app concept. And I think in China, like WeChat took this approach of super app, and they have been very successful. And I must say that world over, I don't think so any other super app has been that successful.
Hmm.
Uh, but India, everybody expected would go down the same path, and we know like the leading wallet company tried doing that. The other few players are now trying to do that. but I still don't see any green shoots there in terms of that the super app as a concept is working in India. I think Indian consumers, in my view, are more tuned to the US style of experience, where they don't like clutter. They like simplicity. They like my use cases should be solved in a easiest and simplest manner, rather than the consumers being thrown 20 use cases and let consumers figure out what they want to do. And I think this is what the super apps are trying to do in India without understanding how consumer behavior is changing and what they expect. So that's a big difference, I would say, between China and India. And I'm not never say never. So I'm not saying it can never happen. Maybe someday someone will do, but so far I don't see any green shoots there. So that's my submission on India versus China in the fintech thing.
What are some of the structural and behavioral changes are you seeing? Because you come from the banking world also, uh, and what are some of the reforms that you think will accelerate this or excites you about this?
I think so I clearly see this as an opportunity when you are so low, 100th or 150th of the other developed markets. That means there is only one way, which you can just go in one direction. You can't go down from here. Uh, but if you look at it, like what are the structural challenges till 2 years back, I would say, and now still do exist, but getting solved in some form and manner. I think till 2 years back, the card industry, the way it operated, that they wanted to give a minimum credit limit of at least $1,500, which is like 1 lakh rupees minimum. Now, when you sort of try to give that kind of limit to the consumer, automatically you skim out the majority of the population, because I think in India, only in my view, if you try to target only that, only 40-50 million consumers will qualify to reach there. Uh, and that has been the biggest deterrent until 2 years back. 2 years back or 3 years back, this whole pay later as a concept came in, and banks and fintechs sort of realized that you can still give a credit to consumer at a very low limit, without giving the large line and then figuring out whether it is working or not. You can give a very low limit, figure out whether consumer is repaying in time, whether he is a good consumer, and then keep on increasing the line. And otherwise, in the card form factor, the biggest challenge is uh, your the line, the CAC. So your on an average, bank incurs $70 to $100 to acquire a card customer. And then once you issued the card, the activation rates are just 50%. And because the card reaches the consumer after 8-10 days, by the time you're out of mind, out of sight, so the activation becomes a big challenge. So you incurred $100 on a consumer, and then after 10 days, when the card is in customer's hand, you realize half of the customers are not using it. So I think so. These are the structural issues, and but I think it is also a factor of the consumption pattern changing. Why, other than the whole the mindset changing from the banks and fintechs, and the consumption pattern of consumers, which has started undergoing a change where consumers want to live the life today, the gratification today, and that has led to increased spending. And also, I would also give credit to the startup and the internet ecosystem, which has contributed to this spending in terms of salaries, the consumption coming from the internet sector employees, the aspirational thing of the Indian consumers, that has started playing very active role, which was sort of dominant until 2-3 years back. And banks have realized that this is an opportunity they got to latch on. So they have also become matured in their thinking, risk management systems, as well as that how these consumers are aspirational and not necessarily the bad users. So it's kind of a overall ecosystem way which is rising. The other thing which has become available is the alternate data. So because of, I would give this credit to Geo. Like they just penetrated internet like anything, and that generates so much of alternate data on mobile phone, which helps underwrite better, which helps underwrite in much more accurate manner rather than a traditional manner of you submit your salary proof and then We will take a week's time to give you a decision and all of that. And I think that has changed the outlook in terms of the way consumer can be underwritten. So all of these factors have contributed to this increased wave. The last thing I would add is the acceptance network. I think one of the biggest challenge earlier was that the point of sale machines in India were what, a million odd until 3 years back. And now with the government push, or companies like Pine Labs or companies like MSwipe, they have been started pushing this whole acceptance network in the merchant very, very deeply. So from an Indian consumer standpoint who hold the cards, now they also feel, yes, if I have the card, I can use it at more places. Vis-a-vis earlier where it was like not accepted. So all of these factors kind of contributed a lot in the increased usage.
How tough or easy it is right now to start neobanks in India?
I must say, when I started 18 months back, I thought it is similar to starting a fintech. Uh, but I never expected this kind of challenge personally. It's super tough, and super tough in the sense of compliance, specifically what you were highlighting. So I'll give you like a real situation. So in Citrus, PayU, or all my earlier stints in last 9 years, even after 5, 6 years of maturity, we did not have this level of compliances and security standards, which we have done in last 18 months. So now everything we do, first we check 10 times, is the security being taken care of? Is the compliance being taken care of? Is the data security is there? Is there a potential threat, breach, threat risk which exists? So day and night we bother about that, and it has been imbibed into the DNA of the team now. So it is no. So earlier when the team joined, they're like, we are here to change the bank. We are here to disrupt the banks. Why do we care about all this? But over a period, they have realized that this is the thing. That's how consumer will draw trust.
Yeah.
And I can't afford to tell consumer that today in your account, yesterday there was 100,000 rupees, but today I'm showing you 95,000 because I have a glitch in my system. I can't afford to do that. While in my earlier avatars, if a payment transaction failed, I could have told consumer that, we are a startup, please pardon us. So,
It will come in 2 days.
yeah, it will come back in 2 days. And so that is no more acceptable in this whole new parlance of neo banking which we are doing. So it's very tough, but it's been interesting journey. I have also learned now that why banks are slow to move, and how do we counter, how do we maintain the fine balance between the security compliances and the agility. So we have come to a very good terms with it, and so that's been a journey, and not been an easy journey. I must admit that.
Some of the large new banks, like New Bank in Brazil, they are primarily based on credit based lending based structures, but yours is deposit based and it is different. Why did you choose this? It's unique, it's different. Why did you choose that? And then tell us about this strategy that you've adopted here.
Sure. So I would say maybe the impression is coming that way, that we chose deposit based, but our thinking is slightly different. Our thinking is that if you want to become a bank, you got to do both assets and liabilities, which is the deposits and lending, and you don't have a choice to do either or. And there is a reason for that. The reason is that the deposit brings you the benefit of lower cost of funding, and the lending brings you the revenue. So and if you focus only on one thing, so if you do lending, then again you are a kind of a lending fintech at a high cost of capital. You're borrowing and then you're giving at 24-30% like any other fintechs, and you will never be able to move forward. So you got to do a fine balance at both the places. And this is where we actually started both deposit and lending. And while we don't talk much about it, but Bullet, which is our lending product, it is already there live in the market. We have got close to 500,000 downloads on that product. So it's doing like amazingly well. While parallelly we were developing the deposit product, which we launched a couple of weeks back now. So I think both the legs are kind of equally weighed when we are executing this, and this is why this problem statement is much larger as compared to the last two stints which I've run.
WhatsApp Pay and all these platforms, Google, because the kind of data intelligence that they have on the user, so they'll be far better at risk analytics and credit scoring, different things for the users. What do you have to say?
I kind of partially agree with that, and the reason I say partially agree, yes, they have a big advantage in terms of access to customer and the data, which is a very big advantage to build a product like this. Uh, but as I said in my previous answer, the biggest challenge is compliance and regulatory headache and security thing. And I think those are very, very local to the market, and nuances are very, very local. That's why if you look at it so far, well, Google and Amazon and all of these guys have been talking about getting into banking, and they have been trying at in sort of various manner. But all said and done, if you look at each country, like Brazil is Nubank, US it is Chime or Varo Money, UK it is Monzo, Revolut, Europe it is N26. I still don't hear about Google or Amazon or
Yeah.
Facebook being banks because of this regulatory challenges and compliances. Because these guys inherently don't want to be regulated. Inherently, they are opposed to that part. So I think that is the only variable element in my view which creates that difference between the big tech versus the player like us or anybody in the ecosystem who's trying to create it ground up.
What are some of the learnings that you bring to Jupiter from there? And then also, why did you decide to start? I'm very, very curious. You could have sit back and relax while you could have done, na?
So there are many reasons why I started this, and then I'll sort of go into the detailing in terms of why this particular field. So I think one of the reason which is very personal, that having been in the startup ecosystem for 9-10 years, I think there is still this feel that I think I have not created anything large, impactful, and that is a inherent need
Ida.
which I feel. Yeah, which I feel. Second, I'm kind of a restless guy, and I don't think so. I can like, while you have the impression that I'm enjoying, but trust me, even at this place which is so green, I'm in this room from 9 to 8 p.m. and 9
I
a.m.
can
to 8 p.m.
imagine.
So 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 I think that restlessness of constantly doing something, constantly at work, is kind of prompted me to do this. My wife was not happy. My wife was like strongly against it initially. Of course, she has come to terms with it now. So now coming to the sectors specifically. So if you look at last two stints, it's been Citrus, which is a payments company, then PayU, which was again payments company. But within that, we also launched a consumer lending product called Lazy Pay. And so what we realize, both the payments and lending are a transactional business. So consumers have a very, very transactional relationship with
Yeah.
these kind of businesses. And if you really want to create a very large franchise in next 20 years, 25 years, you got to create a trust relationship with the consumer. And
Yeah.
the fact is, none of the fintech in India has been able to make any dent in the banking industry. That is a fact. And and being a fintech entrepreneur, I'm admitting this. So I say that if you really want to make the impact in consumers' life, financial
Hmm.
services life, then
Hmm.
you got to do something where you can establish the trust relationship with the consumer. What banks do effectively, and
Yeah.
this is why this whole startup about banking, and I think our idea is not just about limited to bank account. We look ourselves more as a finance app where we can help consumers meet their financial goals, help them maintain financial discipline, help them become the financially wealthy. I think that is what we are chasing. So bank account is just the entry point to establish the relationship with the consumer. So that's how we see our path.
So, but what it also alludes to is that the money involved in building a neobank would be significant, because you have to spend, uh, uh, and uh, and there is this perception that the VC money, while it is coming, it has to come in a large quantum, it has to come consistently, because it will go through a journey to build this. Want to get your sense on this, because you of course have raised, I think you've raised the largest seed funding, right?
I mean, I would say we raise the required capital. So I
Yeah.
would say that way. But you are right.
Yeah.
But you're right, Shweta. This business requires a large amount of capital to build, and the sole reason is that the infrastructure to build this business, the initial investment which goes into build this business is very very high. The second thing is the banking is all about capital. Like the raw material for banking is capital. Like
Yeah.
you get capital and you lend out capital, and that's how you make money. So it's a business of money. So from that standpoint, I think it will be unreal to say that okay, you raise 5 million and you would be able to create the world's largest bank. Impossible. At least in my view, impossible. I've not seen somebody being able to do that uh, because you have various compliances, the money which goes around compliances, the liquidity ratios which you need to keep to maintain the sanity or towards the consumer. The customer service investment is very very high because even a 100 rupee transaction goes for a toss, and customer
Mm.
is unhappy, they will just take you for ride and take you for ride like where you would be like uh, cursing yourself that why did I get into this. so
Yeah.
so it's so it's a very very serious investment. So if somebody feels that okay, I can disrupt HDFC or ICICI overnight, impossible.
Yeah.
Just not possible. It will take ages to build that kind of trust, and what that means is you got to survive, you got to constantly innovate, which means a lot of capital which goes behind to do that. So we initially raised yes $25 million to start with. I feel to build a successful bank in India, you need capital of at least 200 to $300 million over next 5 years, and that's when you can build a large, sustainable, successful bank. Without that, if you don't have that kind of visibility, I would be skeptical that those kind of banks can make a meaningful dent in the industry.
What's the conversation you would have had with the investors? Like, क्या था discussions हुआ neo bank space के बारे में? What was the deep thinking that went behind the investment?
I think discussion was very simple, exactly what we are having today, which is that why do you want to build this? What kind of capital you would need? How would the initial couple of years would look like? What kind of team capability you would need? What is the differentiation you would bring to the table? How would you create a difference to consumers' life? The whole story which you're giving that I will work towards the financial wellness of the consumer. Like, what are the few product lines which you feel you would be able to do that? That being said, I think the investors also know that this is a white space, and there is no established path, which means the journey would be figured out during the journey itself.
Yeah.
So or path would be figured out during the journey itself. So I think in that sense they were cognizant. I think what they looked for, whether you're audacious and ambitious enough or not, and I feel we were able to give that confidence.
What do you think of the different startups that are emerging in this space? It's like the cool space, right?
I think it has been made cool by you people, I would say, where the media highlights all the valuations
पैसा,
and the
हाँ.
fundraise and all of that, but it's very very difficult space the way I see. But if you look at it in banking, especially in this kind of banking experience, there are only two segments, which is the consumers and the SMEs. Now, SMEs, I think Bank Open or the Razorpay X kind of players are doing a good job. And in the consumer side, other than us, there are a couple of players who have come in. What I'm surprised is nowadays every lending company is also quoting themselves to be a neobank, and all payments companies also quoting themselves to a neobank. And I think this word is becoming more of a fad without realizing the importance of the word, without realizing
Yeah.
the work which needs to be done behind the scene. So so they, I think the ecosystem guys are feeling that oh, these couple of guys are able to raise large rounds by using the word neobank. Maybe we should also play the same trick. But that's but it can't play out.
What goes behind a neobank is, I was thinking more or less like setting up a bank, right?
It is exactly equal to setting up a bank.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think so. There is anything. I think the only thing which we fall short of dealing with RBI directly, which a bank takes that headache in terms of meeting the RBI compliances, audits, and all of that. I think we avoid that leg. Other than that, we do everything what a bank does today to cater to these consumers.
I saw in your beta site partnership with Federal Bank.
We partnered with two banks. In fact, we partnered with Axis and Federal. But the first bank which we are going live with is Federal Bank, and I think Federal Bank was more ready in terms of our requirements, which we needed to deliver a certain experience. So that's what our goal was: go to market as fast as possible, and somehow the Federal Bank was more prompt in delivering the things which we needed to deliver the customer experience. That being said, Axis Bank has been equally prompt now, and we very soon we would be rolling out with them as well. So I think from a business standpoint, we don't expect more than these couple of partnerships, because we don't want customers to feel that they are coming to Axis or Federal. We want customer to come to us because of Jupiter proposition. So that's why we don't feel the need of partnering for more than a couple of banks.
They are going to different geographies as digital banks, right? Because they have the parent behemoth sitting, and they are entering as neobanks in different geographies. What do you have to say? Do you see that as a challenge, as a competition for business like yours?
Definitely. I think banks like this, when they start ground up something, there is a definite challenge to any entity like us. The reason, there is no legacy which is sitting into that country. There is no legacy of infrastructure, thinking, people. And when there is no legacy, it's very, very easy to deliver something new, afresh. And I think the DBS, I really commend them specifically, the approach which they have taken towards Indonesia or India in terms of the experience they want to deliver to the consumers. So that's a threat for sure. The only thing which I constantly keep telling our teams internally, that there will be many threats. I think the only way we can be successful is if we remain focused on our core mission, which is delivering a great experience to the consumer, and heads down execution. Let's not
Yeah.
worry about what is happening around you. Let's not get distracted. So let's just focus on our execution strength.
And
So that's what.
I want to call this out here, that you know very well. You did that in Citrus Pay.
Yeah, so that has been.
Yeah.
I must say those experiences definitely come as a leverage. That having done it a couple of times brings you a lot of maturity. And I give this example in the company that like don't behave like headless chicken. So which is like, the problems will come in this journey, the challenges will come,
Yeah.
but how you behave in those situations is the key, and how
Yeah.
maturely you deal with those situations. How a headless chicken does, they just start running around here and there without realizing what is the direction they need to go. so
Yeah.
so we don't want to behave that way. So that's the level of maturity we keep imbibing into our team members, so that we can encounter any challenge.
सबको pitch करना है कि Jupiter is your new a bank to go. What would you say?
I think one simple reason, which is that most of the consumers are fatigued with the existing banks, processes, experience, the mindset, and the spamming behavior. What Jupiter will deliver to the consumers is a personalized banking experience with a mindset of an internet company, and the customer service which is not differentiating based on your balances, but which is sort of catering to you when you need resolution instant, rather than saying, oh, you need to show me 200,000 rupees balance to get priority in the queue. So that's the whole pitch to the consumer.
But कहीं ये लगा कि एग्जिट कर लिए, बड़ा होना चाहिए था? Was there that thing which also propels you to do this?
So in hindsight, yes. In hindsight, I feel the same. I think selling the company so early maybe was not a good decision, because I think if we've not done anything new also, we would have been 10x of where we were in 2016. But the market wave just supported. And I've seen this firsthand at PayU. Like in PayU, after joining from Citrus, we grew 3x. We made the company profitable. So clearly, it's not like somebody else told this. It's like we experienced this firsthand. Yeah. So clearly, that is in hindsight. That being said, if I go back in time without the knowledge of today, I think I would have taken the same decision. That was right for the company, right for shareholders, right for our team members, right for us personally. So I would have taken the same decision.
How can you be building such an incredibly large startup and be in such a cool place? Tell me what you're doing there and where are you?
So I am in Himalayas right now. So I'm in Himachal. I actually can watch glaciers from the place where I'm sitting. Wow. So I've been staying put here for last 3 weeks. Intend to spend another 3 weeks here. I think this place is so serene that my whole thinking has kind of, the creativity has come to its peak, and I'm personally enjoying the work-life balance from here. So weekends are great fun in terms of just spending time out, but the weekdays, I think the good part is, instead of watching my wall while having these kind of calls, I'm watching glaciers, and I'm watching the other trees, and I'm watching mountains, and like it's so serene.
What are you thinking, Jitendra, doing differently in your startup as you come back?
So I think after staying 3 weeks here, one of the realization I have had personally is that I personally feel more charged up after working here or from this location. So I'm going to make it mandatory in my company that every team member in a year, after everything gets normal, should spend 1 month outside the office and work from outside the office, and not come to office for a continuous 1 month period. So that's going to be mandate, it's not option. So so that's the thing which I think I personally saw the benefit, and this is the benefit I want other team members also to realize.
Okay, I said last, but Jupiter क्यों नाम रखा? बड़ा है सबसे.
Jupiter is the largest planet in solar system. So aspirations to be the largest financial services company. So clearly it resonates with the name.
Jitendra, all the very best. And we hope that you again go on to create a very big, large success, impactful, meaningful story from India, which you did earlier with Citrus Pay. And then we are looking forward and rooting that you do it.
Thank you, Shraddha. Really appreciate for the wishes. And I hope you will be rooting and supporting in our journey.